My name is Sumit Madhan, and I am working as a CEO and a partner consultant with Agilemania. I'm also a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org, and I'm here to create a video series on AI-driven product ownership. It's all about how AI can help product owners in their product management journey. So the agenda for this particular session is going to be I will take you around the history behind Scrum and Agile. We will talk about the project versus product and also the project mindset versus product mindset. We'll talk about product management. We'll also talk about the product strategy. That's where we'll understand how we get a product idea. Then we will talk about the product vision and product goals, stakeholder and risk identification. Then we'll talk about the persona and understanding the value for a persona, and then how we can connect the product goals with the persona and its values that will help us drive the product requirements. And we are actually going to use impact mapping for that. And then we'll talk about Scrum framework introduction. That's where we'll talk about where Scrum is applicable, what are the values and principles behind Scrum. Then we'll take a deeper dive into Scrum to understand the Scrum framework. Then we'll also understand how a product owner manages the product backlog. That's where we'll talk about requirements management in Scrum. Then also talk about estimation and forecasting. And in the last, we'll talk about the product and how product owner maximizes the value of a product. Let's start with the history behind Agile and Scrum. Now, Scrum as a concept was introduced in year 1986 in an article, The New Product Development Game. This article, or I could say the white paper, was developed by Takuachi and Nonaka, and they presented, or they rather mentioned that there is a need for uncovering a new ways to develop new products in a digital world. Because the digital world was evolving, and when you are actually dealing with the evolving nature of any product, or I would say any industry, then the plan-driven methodology or approach might not work, and you need to have an adaptive approach. That's what it was mentioned in this particular article, and the first time they introduced Scrum way of working for adaptive product development approach. And the word Scrum was picked up from a game rugby, which is more around passing the ball to your teammates to win the game. Now, over a period of time, a lot of people started developing, or they started working towards the adaptive approach. And in year 1993, Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber, they co-created a structure for software development, or rather I would say structure for adaptive software development. And they named the structure as Scrum. In 1995, during a conference, first time they introduced Scrum to the audience. During this conference, a lot of other consortium were also available, or I would say rather present, and they presented other ways of developing software like extreme programming practices. One consortium presented DSDM, Crystal, and quite a few. Post this conference, all of these realized that all of them, they were trying to do the same thing, which is uncovering the new ways to develop new products. So they thought, why can't we come together and create something for the software industry? That is where in the year 2001, 17 people, they came together to co-create a structure, or I would say framework or practices for the software development. But after spending 3 days, they concluded a certain set of values and principles for adaptive software development. And they agreed on 4 values and 12 principles, which they manifested in a manifesto for Agile software development. Now, this particular manifesto is freely available over the internet. If you want, you can go and read about that. Just need to go to this particular website, which is agilemanifesto.org. And the core values they talk about is individual and interactions, working software, customer collaboration, and responding to change. 17 people who were involved in this manifesto. They're the 17 people, the co-creator of Scrum, the Mr. Ken and Jeff Sutherland, and the principles, 12 principles are here. Now, knowingly, unknowingly, whenever somebody asks that, okay, what is Agile and Scrum, we end up talking about these values and principles only. We talk about iterative and incremental development, collaboration, empowerment, and emergent designs. All these things are nothing but the principles behind Agile software development. Now, if you come over here we talk about four values. Now, apart from that, nothing else is mentioned on this website. Now, if somebody asks us that to define what is Agile, so we can define Agile as a set of core values and 12 principles using which one can define the ways of work which will help solve business problems, or rather create business opportunities. Now, Agile is nothing but a set of core values principle using which one can define a way of work that will help you to solve your business problems. Now, this way of work or this way of work could be your processes. This way of work could be your practices. And this way the work could be the frameworks. Now, over a period of time, a lot of process, practices, and framework has evolved. You can use them, or otherwise you can come up with your own processes, practices, and structures or frameworks that can help you to solve your business problem. Now, over a period of time, the processes, practices, framework which has evolved, that includes your lean processes, Six Sigma, meta structures like Kanban, or there could be more. Practices like extreme programming practices, DevOps practices, the team level framework, Scrum, and there are some scaling frameworks like Maxes, large scale Scrum, Spotify scaling model, Scaled Agile framework, Scrum at scale, and there could be more. Now, why these are called as frameworks? We are saying Agile is a collection of values and principles that help you to define your way of work to solve your business problem. It often gets equated as a methodology. But we never say Agile is a framework. We always say Scrum is a framework. Now, why Scrum is called as a framework and why Agile is not a framework? So let's have a quick understanding of that. Now, what is called as framework? The framework definition says something that provides you a structure which is governed by a certain set of rules and guidelines within which people develop or use practices to deliver a value. That qualifies the definition of a framework. Now, for example, let's understand with a game. Consider a game football. Now, if you look at the game is nothing but a framework. Why? Because this game gives a structure to play the game. So as a structure, you need to have a field, you need to have a team, captain, goalkeeper, team manager, team coach, or there could be more also. And in order to facilitate the game, we are having a referee. And then to play the game, some rules are defined. Rules like the dimension of the field. It's a rule. 90 minutes of the game. Rule. 45 minutes with the halftime. Rule. You cannot touch a ball with the hand. Rule. You cannot hit somebody intentionally. Rules. So there are rules defined. But how the players are actually going to play the game, there's no methodology defined. They will actually plan and they will adapt on the field. They will use the practices they have developed over a period of time, and the ultimate goal is to win. That's how it is called as framework. Similarly, Scrum being a framework provides a structure which consists of 15 elements in total, and each of this element serves a purpose in the framework. And these elements are three roles, accountabilities, we can say, because each role serves accountability. Three artifacts. The purpose of artifacts is to bring transparency in the system. Five events, which are opportunity to inspect and adapt. Three commitments, that brings focus, and one activity, which will help with the readiness of the requirements. Now, these are the 15 elements, three roles, which is product owner, scrum master, and developers. Then we are having a three artifacts, that is product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. Five events, sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective. Three commitments, product goal, sprint goal, and definition of done. And activity is product backlog defined. And then some rules are defined. Each event in Scrum is time boxed. It's a rule. Only product owner can cancel a sprint. It's a rule. A sprint can be cancelled only if the sprint goal is obsolete. It's a rule. Some guidelines are given. Scrum team size, which is product owner, developer plus Scrum master. The Scrum team size is 10 or fewer than 10. Daily Scrum happens at the same time, same location every day. Now, this governs some set of rules and guidelines within which your developers develop or use practices in order to deliver a value in the form of an increment. That is why Scrum is called as framework. Now, Agile doesn't give us any structure like that, but it helps us define a way of work to solve our business problem. That is why Agile equated as a methodology, but not as a framework. So this is about a very quick introduction on the history behind Agile and Scrum. I hope this helps. Okay, so now let's talk about two more terminologies. The one is project, the another one is product. Mostly I've seen it is actually being used interchangeably. But what is the difference between project and product? Now we'll go to the PMI, Project Management Institute, to understand what is the definition of a project. They very clearly mentioned that project is a temporary endeavor or initiative that has a specific start date and a specific end date, during which team work on a very defined scope or a goal within the allocated budget, and then they deliver something. So something this, and they deliver something. Now this delivery is equated as product. Now this could be tangible, the stuff that you can touch and feel, like I'm having an Apple Pencil in my hand, I'm having an iPad, I'm having specs. All these are tangible products. Or it could be intangible. intangible like service, softwares, or maybe something more abstract. Now, if we'll talk about what is the definition of a product, then we can very well say that a product is something which is created, something which is produced. If I talk about a commercial product, it is being sold or marketed as a commodity. Why we are able to sell it? Because it delivers a value. Now, value to who? Product delivers value to the consumer or the user of the product. And at the same time, it also delivers a value to the creator or the producer of the product. Now, this is how we can actually define the project versus product. Now, if you look at the product side, I have not mentioned anywhere scope. And if we'll talk about the project side, we have not mentioned anywhere value, which means project is always scope driven, wherein product is value driven. Now, when you work on the project and product, we often carry a mindset, the mindset which is value driven and the mindset which is scope driven. So when we are actually working in a scope driven mindset, we often carry a project thinking, or you can say project mindset, that talks about we have to deliver a defined scope within budget and within the timeline. And when we talk about value driven, then we talk about product mindset, that talks about how quickly we can deliver a value, or what is the value for my user as well as for my creator that can be delivered to both. Now, in Scrum, we talk about we always carry a product mindset, or a product owner carry a product mindset, but that doesn't mean the scope is not required. We do talk about scope in product development also, or in Scrum also. But how much scope can deliver a value? Is it like hundreds of features can deliver a value, or a minimal set of features can deliver a maximum value? Or do we need to wait for a long time to get a value delivery, or can we deliver a value iteratively? Now, that is where the difference comes. And that difference is defined using project and product mindset. Now, let's understand project versus product mindset. Now, in order to understand this, let's take a very hypothetical example. I'm sure all of you must have used Microsoft Word. Now, if I ask you how many features are there in Microsoft Word, I'm sure it is almost impossible for anyone to tell us how many features are available in Microsoft Word. But if I ask what are the frequently used features of Microsoft Word, we all know. Why? Because those are the features which really deliver the value for us at a given point of time. Now, consider that we, again, as I mentioned, it's a hypothetical scenario, and consider we are having a Microsoft Word which carries around 190 features, and consider that we are 2 to 3 decades back in our life, where all the documents which were created or which were being created during that time were handwritten document, or the documents created using typewriter, when the Microsoft Word or digital documentation was not there. Now, consider during that time, Microsoft came up with an idea that, okay, yes, we should actually start to work towards, digitizing the document to ease people life. And consider they started working on that, what should be there in the product. And they were able, or they came up with a scope which was defined with 190 features. So Microsoft came with this idea. Now consider Microsoft has gone to a vendor for the product development, and they approached a company, let's say A. Now, in order for Microsoft to get the work done or the product delivered from A, they need to understand that how much time and money is needed to build this product with the scope of 190 features. So they've gone to company A and they requested their expertise. company A picked up the scope, they started analyzing the scope, and after analyzing the scope, they understood that there's a certain set of expertise which is needed and certain set of developers required. And if these many developers are going to work on these 190 requirements, then it's going to take 10 months for them to build the product. And let's say it's going to cost them $500,000. Now, with this data, they go to Microsoft. Microsoft went and spoke to their investors. Investors are ready to invest into the product, but they are interested in knowing that when the return on investment will start. And consider that Microsoft communicated to all the stakeholders whose money is at stake that the return will start to happen from after 10 months. And now they have come to vendor A and they have awarded the project to them, and they have written an SOW, contract, that company A is actually going to work on 190 requirements, and it's going to take 10 months for them to deliver it, and it's going to cost them $500,000, let's say. And Microsoft will not change the requirement during the 10 months. And should Microsoft choose to change the requirement, then it is going to be having a cascading impact on either time or budget. Now, consider company A got the project, they started working on that. Will it be possible for us to conclude at any given point of time that if Microsoft is not going to change the requirement, then this 190 requirement will stay as it is? It's very difficult for us to conclude that. Reason being, because when we start to work on any requirements, there could be a chances or a scenario where your requirements will start to evolve. Nobody's changing, but you started working on some scenarios and you have uncovered some more scenarios. There could be some technical challenges, there could be some technical blockage, because of which the scope start to evolve. And over a period of time, let's say the requirements got evolved and now 190 requirement became 250. Now the scope was 190, for which the timeline was given as 10 months. Now the scope started to evolve and now the timelines are becoming a challenge. Now consider vendor A has gone to Microsoft and they expressed their concern to Microsoft and they requested for extra 2 months of time. Now for Microsoft, it may be possible to give them a time, or it might not be possible for them to give a time. Reason being, because once you will start to communicate the timelines to the stakeholder, it becomes increasingly difficult to convince the stakeholders every time on the timeline changes. So most of the time, we don't get this option. But then another option, let's add more people. But adding more people will shoot up the price. Now that's for sure. If you'll go to the vendor to ask for extra money, straight away, no. Reason being, because sometimes you're, I would say the companies who are actually giving you the project, they are also tight on their schedule or on their, I would say, money part. So quite possible you might not get this option also. Another option is, let's go back to the previous scope. But scope never got changed. It got evolved, which means 190 requirements are still 190, but the scenarios are actually getting added up to that. So sometimes that is also not possible. And we often get into a situation where we are expected to complete all the 250 requirements within the timelines and within the budget. That's where the problem starts. And the problem starts because these people who are supposed to work for 8 hours a day, now they will be pushed to work for, let's say, 14 hours a day. Sometimes Saturday, Sunday office. I have worked in many products where I got into this kind of situation. Now, when people start to work extra, they usually get tired, not physically, but mentally. And in that state of mind, they often get into a mode which is more around finishing the scope. Now, maybe it's a right way of doing the work, or maybe it's not a right way of doing the work. They might go for a workarounds. It might create a problem for the later part of the product, but at that time they're not worried about that. They're only worried about completing the scope, and knowingly, unknowingly, they end up compromising on quality. So this is what happens in a scope-based delivery, because completing a scope is the priority. Now consider team pulled it and they have completed all the 250 requirements within 10 months and within the budget, and consider they came up with the product also. So let me pick up this part. Okay. So consider the team pulled it, they completed all the 250 items, all the 250 requirements within 10 months and within the budget, and the product is created. Now, if I ask, after 10 months, is there any guarantee that the product will be successful in the market? No, we cannot give a guarantee after 10 months, because 10 months is a very long time for any product to fail in the market. Maybe the over a period of time, the requirements got evolved, maybe customer needs got changed, maybe quality became an issue, maybe market dynamics changed, or maybe somebody else introduced another solution for the similar kind of problem. Now, this mindset where completing a scope within time and budget takes the priority over the success of the product is called as project mindset. Scope based mindset. Completing scope is a priority, not the success of the product. Now, this was the biggest challenge with the waterfall approach for the environment which was changing. So, environment which was evolving, the environment which actually needed an adaptive approach rather a planned driven. This is where the introduction of Agile or Scrum came into picture. I'm using the word Agile or Scrum interchangeably, but I hope you understand that. Okay, this is where the need of the adaptive approach came, and Scrum became a solution for that. In Scrum, how it became a solution for this problem? Let's understand this. Now, in the left hand side, one thing was understood, that there are two elements, those are fixed, that is time and budget. We tried to fix the scope also, but it's not possible to fix the scope. So only two elements are there which can be fixed, time and budget. So Scrum took the same approach and they fixed the time and budget. And they kept the scope variable. Scope variable means your 190 requirements are allowed to grow. And let it grow. But how you'll fix the time and budget? That depends upon the environment that you're working on. Now, if at all you're working on a highly compliance-driven environment on a life-critical product, then this timeline may go in years also, which is more like that, okay, you can go with a plan-driven approach, because if the compliances are really high and the life-critical product, so the things doesn't change so frequently in that. But now consider an environment which is highly compliance-driven but not life-critical, for example, banking, insurance sectors. In those kind of environment, this timelines will be in quarters, like 1 quarter, 2, 3 quarters. But what if you're working in an environment which is risky? Risky means that you being disconnected from the market means you are actually going to lose the market share. Examples, e-commerce space, social media, or the software product development. In these kind of environments, you being disconnected from the market is actually a loss on the market share. Now, this is where you can see that how much risk an organization can take on the timeline. So consider we are actually having an organization that can take a risk of no more than a month. They say that, okay, within a month, we have to go to the market in order to retain our market share. For 1 month, we are actually having the availability of developers. We know their per day cost. So we'll be able to come up with the budget also. Let's say 50K. Now, which means within 1 month, within 50K, we have to deliver something to the market. Now, question comes, if we are working on the same product with Microsoft Word in today's time, then how are you going to deliver it? Because delivering 190 requirement in 1 month is not possible until unless we are having a very big team and we are actually a huge amount of money. Maybe it's possible, but if at all we are working on an environment which is quite complex in nature and it needs an adaptive approach, then delivering 190 requirement in 1 month is a challenge. But now the question comes: if we have to deliver some requirements, then out of 190 requirement, which requirement we have to deliver first? So often we say that okay, the items which are priority, items which are valuable. But now the question comes: how we know out of 190 requirement which item is or which requirement is the priority or which actually going to deliver a value and to who? That is where we bring another angle to this, which is customer. Because we are building this product for end users, customers who are actually going to use this product. Now, it will be good for us to understand that what is actually a priority for my customer or my stakeholder or for my uh, users of the product. Now, the question comes: does our customer know what exactly they want? Because if you go to our customer and you ask them that, okay, hey, we are actually going to work on a certain set of requirement out of 190 requirement to deliver a value in a month. So can you please help us understand which item are the priority or valuable to you? And customer often end up telling that, okay, all are priority and all are value. Because customers sometimes themselves doesn't know that what exactly they want. That is where our customer or user research comes into the picture. Now consider that we are having a access to our potential customer, and we have done some research around that. That where we went and asked them that, okay, hey, help us understand that what challenges you are going through. What is the problem that you're facing right now? Trust me, customer knows their problems in priority. So instead of asking what they want, which they actually don't know, ask that what challenges they are going through. Now consider we happen to speak to a few customers and they mentioned that with the current document management, there's a lot of time waste. So if you understand that what is actually wasting the time, they can say that, okay, we write the document. Sometimes we have to edit the document. Editing often leads us to, rewrite the documents multiple times because multiple edits happen on the product or on the documents. So not every time we'll be able to, make a correction by striking it or by putting a white ink on that. So we end up creating the documents again and again, which is time. Then number of projects, number of documents, and number of files, storerooms. Sometimes searching the documents become a pain, time wastage. So after having understanding from our customer what actually is bothering them, which is time wastage, we know that okay, if we are able to save the time, it will really help us deliver a value. So now we got to know what is the value for our customer. Now, in order to deliver that value, we can prioritize the requirement and then we can take a subset of this requirement to deliver a value. Now consider we have actually come up with a certain set of or priority items that can deliver this value. For example, create a digital document, word processing, save a digital document to a digital medium. It might deliver a quick value to my customers. So consider the team worked and they created a value for the customer. Initial one. So consider this is what the team has created for the customer. Now, when the team started to work on this particular requirements, they assumed that these requirements will deliver a value. But this assumption needs to be validated. And the best people to validate this assumption is customer themselves. So let's call them and do a quick review with your customer. Now, when you did a quick review with the customer, they were happy with the value they actually got. But one of the customer raised another concern that they say that, okay, if this is possible, then we are having another problem. Because once you start to see a product coming out, you will get a lot of ideas or you may get, or you may figure out other problems that you are actually dealing with. So consider one of the customers gave a feedback that we are working on a project that needs our project manager to go on sites. They take a photograph and they come back, they print the photograph to negative, and then we staple that photograph with the A4 size sheet. And then we write the comment around that. And over a period of time, we have noticed that due to the moisture in the air, the photograph and paper stick together. And then when we are trying to separate it, we end up tearing up the page and we end up spoiling the photograph. Page we can rewrite. The content of the page we can rewrite, but searching that photograph in a pool of negative becomes a challenge and a time wastage. Can you do something about that? Now we got a feedback. This feedback helped us understand what is the next value for my customer. Now it's a time for us to adapt to this feedback. This adaptation may reprioritize a requirement, or we may add a few more items that can help deliver this value. It is allowed now. Why? Because our scope is allowed to grow at this time. Again, let's say in order to deliver this value, we took a subset from the requirements and consider we got us requirements like option to add table and option to add digital images. Now again, team start to work on delivering this value, and team worked on this. So they worked for a month again to create this value, and they have created this value on top of previously delivered value, which means now you can create a Word document, or you can create a document. You can add table, you can add images, you can do an indentation, you can do a word processing, and then you can save a document. Now again, this was assumed that this is going to deliver a value. For the validation, we'll call our customers again and another round of review with them. This may attract another feedback. This feedback help us understand what could be the next value for my customer. Again, we'll adapt to this feedback. This may reprioritize the requirement, or we may end up adding more features to the product. We took a subset, start to work on the next value for the customer over here, and then next value, and this value will be built on the previously delivered value, and this continues until how will continue. How long will continue? Till the time we are getting a feedback from the customer. Now, if we look on the way we deliver the value from the left hand side to the right hand side, quite a few things are there. First thing, in the right hand side picture, we are actually working towards delivering a value rather completing a scope. Every time we are referring to a value and rather completing the scope. Second thing, we are actually having a feedback loop. A shorter feedback loop, a quick value delivery, a quick adaptation. Now, this approach where value takes the priority over completing the scope, this thought process, this thinking is called as product thinking, or you can say product mindset. We also call this mindset as Agile mindset, which is value driven mindset. And the shift from this way of work to this way of work is called as Agile transformation. Often people say we are moving from projects to products. So it's not that there's a, we are shifting the projects to the product side, products now. No, it's more about the way we are actually thinking about the projects and the way we think about a product. That approach needs to be changed. Scope-based thinking to value-based. Now, this is what we call it as the difference between the project mindset and the product mindset, or you can say waterfall way of working or Scrum or Agile way of working. This is also called as iterative and incremental product development. So we are doing a 1 month iteration. This is called as iterative approach. Another 1 month, then another 1 month. Something like this, correct? And incremental. So this is the increment. So iterative and incremental approach. One of the principle in Agile. So this is what we talk about the project versus product. Now, a lot of times people say that, okay, how about managing the budget? How about managing the scope? Till how long will we keep developing? See, we are talking about a product. Till the time we are delivering a value, the product stays. Project is a temporary initiative. Or you can also see that every iteration can be equated as a small project because it qualifies the definition of a project. But when we say that, okay, it can be treated as a project, we are doing a delivery with the project, but we are carrying a product mindset, which means the value is more important than completing a scope. Now, if at all we have to differentiate between project thinking and product thinking on a scale of, let's say, value, how we can differentiate? So consider this, a graph between the value and time. Let's say this side is value and this side is time. Now, when we talk about value, it's important for us to understand that value is for who. Here we say the value for a user as well as the value for a creator, because that's what the definition of product is. That there was a value to a user as well as to the creator. Now, value for user, let's say creator, we are talking about a commercial product. So the value for a creator is revenue. It's just a consideration. Now, we say, let's say we are actually working in a waterfall way. So in waterfall, we are having a steps, defined steps, wherein we actually go with the analysis first, then design, development, test, UAT, and then we go to the production. Now consider that we have spent a good amount of time or a month time on creating the documents. Now after 1 month, we have actually created all the documentation that is needed for us to start on the project. So can we say the value is delivered to the customer as well as to the creator? No, we can't. Similarly, we worked on the design, development, test, UAT. No value is delivered. The value will actually get delivered only when you release the product. Now consider you made a release. This is a point when your customer will get a value. This is a point when your company will realize the value or a creator will realize the value. Now, at this time, if a feedback comes from the customer, it is very late for us to incorporate that feedback now. It often gets, accepted as a change request later, and then again you have to work on the scope, timelines, and budget. So we get a late feedback. On top of that, customer have to wait longer for the value. So which means late value delivery. Because the value was delivered late, so it often leads to the late value realization also. Now let's talk about the iterative approach, or let's say Scrum way of working. So what do we do here? Here we work on a, you know, solving a problem or a value, a very small value, I would say. And consider we have created a small value. Can it be released? Maybe it's not the right time, or it's not a full delivery, a full value delivery. Customer might not be able to use this product. So maybe we'll take a call not to release it. But what's the benefit? The benefit of this is early feedback. Now we'll work on that feedback and consider a point comes when we have created enough value for a customer that we can make a release of this now. So consider that we made a first release. Now with this release, customer gets a value. Same time, company also gets a value. So you can say this leads to early value delivery and same time early value realization. So now if we have to differentiate, see, project thought process or a waterfall often leads us with the late feedback, late value delivery, and late value realization. In contrast to this, Scrum helps us with the early feedback, early value delivery, and early value realization. Now, if we talk about a budget part over here, now consider the initial budget which was given to us was 500,000. We spent 50K over here, 50K over here, 50K over here, which means 150K. You're left with how much? 350K. But consider at this point, we realize the value, 30K. So now we are actually having a 380K as a budget. In order to realize this value, we often go for a quick releases, or not quick releases, I would say early releases or continuous releases. The right word could be continuous releases. So this helps us deal with the budget part also. Practically, yes, practically you might be having a different situation in your context. So it all depends on that. But if we are not giving a value quick, we'll not be able to realize the value also. So this is what introduction to our project versus product and a project mindset versus product mindset. Okay, so now we have understood what is project versus product mindset, project mindset, and what's the difference between that. And now let's talk about the next topic, which is on to the product management. Now, what exactly is product management? Now, in order to understand what's the product management, we have to understand the product life cycle. So when we say product life cycle, it's more about the cycle or the phases of the cycle the product goes through. Now, what are the different stages or the phases of the product life cycle? I've just created a picture of that. So let me bring it as it is. Okay, so let me select all. Product life cycle is all about the stages through which the product goes through. Now, it is on two tangents, time and value. Now, when we talk about a value, here we talk about the value for the creator of the product. Let's say it's revenue, positive. Let's talk about the investment. Instead of putting a negative revenue, it's more about the investment. Now, the different stages through which a product life cycle go through is the discovery, where most of your research activities happens. Launch, when we bring the product to the market. Growth, when the product grows and the value is realized. Mature, when the product goes into autopilot, or I can say support mode. And then decline, when we decide to take the product out of the market. Now, typically, this graph goes like this. So it starts from discovery, then comes to the market, then sees the maximum growth or maximum value, then maturity, and a point comes when it starts to decline. Now, throughout this product life cycle, there are a lot of activities a product goes through. Right from the discovery till the decline, a lot of activities happens. Now, all these activities that happens on the product throughout the product life cycle is called as product management. I'll repeat one more time. All the activities a product go through the product life cycle is called as product management. And these activities are around 4 areas. It's around research, strategy, development, and support, or we can say operations also. Now, in order to understand what are these activities, let's understand a concept which is a product quadrant. Now, the product quadrant, as it says, it is divided into 4 areas: research, strategy, development, and operations or support, something like this. And the elements of this quadrant are strategy, and if there is a strategy, then execution and operations. Now, some strategical activities or execution activities which stays internal to the organization, and there are a few that are market fates. Now, what exactly these activities are? So we can divide these activities like this. So the activity what we are having over here, these activities are more of a research activity. So these activities are research activities. I hope the spelling of research is clear. Then comes these activities, which are more of a strategy activities. Then we are having activities around operations, or let me put it in this way, operations. And then there are activities around, oh no, these activities are operations, and these activities are the development activities. So this is how we have divided. Now the research activities are market research, trend analysis, customer research, personas, development, user interviews, surveys, competitive benchmarking, data-driven insights, pricing research. Now it is not like that. Okay, you cannot have only these activities as a part of your research. It all depends upon the organization to organization and product to product. So these activities can vary depending on the context. Similarly, the strategical activities are more around creating a product strategy, defining the vision, mission, defining the product goals, understanding the funding and budgeting, coming up with the initial requirements, creating product roadmaps, defining the success criteria, stakeholder alignment, your go-to-market strategy, release strategy, pricing strategy. Everything which is related to the strategy comes under this quadrant. And then on the strategy, we start the execution part, which is nothing but the product development part that deals with the product requirements, risks, releases, stakeholders, development budgeting, people, process, and delivery. And then the product that gets developed, it goes to operations, or you can say the support part. That's where we talk about the product analytics, performance monitoring, customer retention, churn, predictions, customer support, the first line of support or customer onboarding, retaining the customer, deboarding the customer, collaboration, communication, and also the monitoring on the pricing part. Now, this is how these activities are divided. Now, If I have to put this into a context, then how I can do it? I can say these are the activities which are strategical in nature. It comes into this quadrant. The activities which are related to research goes to this quadrant. The development activities, let's say it comes into this quadrant, and then your support activities are in this quadrant. So this is how it is defined. Now your research activities helps us understand a well-defined problem that is there in hand and on which we have to work on. It also helps us understand the market and the customer insights. Now, the strategy quadrant leads us to a clear understanding of the product vision, roadmaps, its initial requirements, and what is the success criteria. The development quadrant leads us to a validated and a market-ready product. It also helps us the structured launch plan for the product. And the operations or the support part helps us with the scaling of the product, with the retention, monetization, and the growth part. Now, the activities what we have gathered over here. I can also add one more thing that this part, let's say this part is actually a research quadrant. So let me bring it from the top itself. So let's say this portion is a strategy. This one is a research quadrant. Then we are having a development quadrant. Let me bring this also down. And then we are having an operations quadrant. Let's bring this also down. So I can say this quadrant is the operations quadrant. This quadrant is the development quadrant. Something like this. Now, see, product management is not something that came into market with the introduction of Scrum. The product management is there from centuries. The first aeroplane was a product. First steam engine was a product. Car was a product. Television, refrigerators, all were products. And they were actually having their defined life cycle. And the activities that we were doing on those products throughout the product life cycle, it was nothing but a product management for that. Now, if we talk about a traditional product development approach, then this particular part, which is on the development side, I would say this part, this is nothing but a project management. And traditionally, waterfall was used for the product development. So this particular quadrant from here to here, it was waterfall heavy, and we're having a role, or in fact, the waterfall, wherever we are using a waterfall for the product development, we are having a role that takes care of all the project management activities, and that role is project manager. So which means the development quadrant comes under the project manager if you are using waterfall as a methodology for the product development. And the remaining three quadrants comes under another role in the product space. That role is product manager. Now, if somebody asks what is the difference between a product manager and a project manager, it's quite evident now. So a product manager is a strategical role which is market facing. Typically, the person who manages the research strategy and the operations part. It's not like that, okay, the product manager manages all the activities of that. These activities can be delegated to people or to the departments, but a person is there who overlook it. That person is a product manager who is actually accountable for these three quadrants. And then we are actually having a project manager, which is actually an execution role internal to the organization and takes care of the project management part. So the difference between the project manager and a product manager is more around the Product manager is a strategical role, which is market facing. Project manager is the execution role that stays internal to the organization, and it takes care of the project management activities. And for product manager is one of the stakeholders. Now, this is how the product development was happening when we were using waterfall. But over a period of time, we realized that, okay, no, waterfall is not a right methodology for products that needs adaptive solutions. So that is where the introduction of Scrum happened. Now, with the introduction of Scrum, how the things changed. So let's take another quadrant to see how the things are changing. So with the introduction of Scrum, this particular portion, which was waterfall, this got replaced with Scrum. And in Scrum, as I mentioned, it's a framework. It is having its own structure. And with the introduction of Scrum, a new structure came, wherein the three new roles got introduced. The first role, product owner. Second role, Scrum Master. And then developers. And together, it's a Scrum team. Now, with the introduction of Scrum, only the role part was changed, but the project management was still there. Or the project management, I would say, it's still there. Now, previously, we were having a project manager in Waterfall who was taking care of the project management. But now, with the introduction of Scrum, there is no role called as project manager. But as the project management is still there, so it's the Scrum team who actually takes care of project management activities in Scrum. And how? Now, see this particular part, which talks about the requirement, risk releases, stakeholder, budgeting. This part is mostly driven by the business. So I can say this is the business side of the product development. From here to here. Then from here to here, it is more related to the process framework and the people enablement part. And this is entirely onto the delivery. Now, as per Scrum, the business side of the product development goes under product owner. The process framework, people enablement goes under Scrum Master, and the delivery accountability lies with developers. So this is how Scrum team takes care of the project management activities. Now, if somebody asks us that, okay, what is the difference between a product manager and a product owner? Now, this helps us clarify. Because product manager is still a strategical role, which is market facing. And now the product owner becomes an execution role, which is internal to the organization and represent only the business side of the product. So I'll repeat one more time. Product manager is a strategical role, which is market facing. And the product owner becomes an execution role, which is internal to the organization, or I would say internal to the Scrum, and takes care of the business side of the product. So this is how we differentiate between product manager and product owner. But when Scrum started to mature and Scrum Guide came into existence, then one more version started to appear in the market, which was more onto the Scrum perspective side, or I would say more into the Scrum context side. Now I'm going to talk about the context of Scrum. See, in the context of Scrum, we don't have a role called as product manager. But the overall accountability of the value maximization, I would say, success of the product lies with a role which is product owner. The product owner, just by managing the business side of the product development, won't be able to add the value to the product or won't be able to make a product success. Because in order to make a product success, one needs the whole quadrant. But as we already have a product manager over here, so how? As I mentioned, in the context of Scrum, we don't have a role called as product manager. So what happens in the context of Scrum? Your product manager, who is actually taking care of the three quadrants, also take an additional quadrant to represent the business side of the product development to the team. So this part. Now, if your product manager start to represent the business side of the product development to the Scrum team, then we can say our product manager in Agile, or I would say the product manager in the context of Scrum, is nothing but a product owner now. So, this person is nothing but a, let's say, product owner. So, here we go. So, in the context of Scrum, your product owner is the one who represents all the four quadrants or takes care of the product management. And Scrum fits into the product management for the development part. Now, different organizations, they are having a different structure. So I'm not going to comment that, okay, yes, the product owner is the only one who will actually takes care of the product quadrant. As I mentioned, in the context of Scrum, this is what it is. But if your context is different and you're actually having a very big product, which is having a huge dependency on the third parties, vendors, and you are actually having a multiple teams are working on the product, then you will be having a lot of challenges in the product development, and that needs some scaling solutions. Though Scrum is not a scaling framework, so if at all you are into that context, you might need to go for a scaling structure. And when you go for a scaling structure, just make sure you follow their structure. If at all we are in a context of Scrum, then this is how Scrum represents the product management. But if we are on a scaling structure, then just follow the structure that you opt for. For example, I'm just going to take a very minor example, a small example. Now consider that you are not into a product development, but a solution development. Solution development, like you are actually working on an Office 365, which is nothing but a suite of products. So you are actually having a product like Word, Excel, Outlook, or there could be some other products also. And then you are actually having a person who takes the decision at the Office 365 level. Then we need someone who takes the accountability of this product. Then similarly, Excel as a product, and then Outlook as a product. Now, if I go with the Scrum, then this is actually going to add up to a lot of challenges which is related to the scaling. So Scrum might not be a good fit for this kind of solution. So what we do in this kind of situation is we go for a scaling structure. Scaling structures like, let's say, scaled agile framework. Now, if you go with a scaled agile framework, then please follow their structure. And in their structure, if you're having a product like this, then they consider this person as a product manager. They call this a product management group, but there's a role called as product manager, and they consider them as a product. Similarly, if you go for another structure which is large scale major, in that they recognize this person as a product owner and they consider them as the area product owners. If you go with the another structure which is Scrum at scale, in Scrum at scale, they say these people are product owner because the Word, Excel, Outlook is a product, and they recognize this person as chief product owner. Now, in the context of Scrum, in the context of Nexus, in Nexus, they recognize this person as a product owner, and they say you will develop a product management knowledge within the product teams so that product owner can start to delegate some of the responsibilities to them. Though there is no formal role called as a product business analyst in Nexus, but I have seen most of the time we get a representative from a team who present the product owner to the team. And most of the time in industry, we'll see we call them as a business analyst. So what is happening? Depending on the structure, we are calling this person as a product manager or chief product owner or product owner. And alternatively, we call this person as a product owner, area product owner, business analyst. So I usually say that in whichever context you are, use that structure. And this particular roles in the product management may vary from organization to organization also. So this is what the concept of your product management is. Don't worry, this particular video will be converted into a PDF document also with all the details, and it's going to be um, a high end, a high definition document or high resolution document, in fact. So you can actually download that and use it for your reference. So this is about your okay. So until now, we have discussed the history behind Agile and Scrum. We all also discussed the project and product part. We have discussed the project thinking versus product thinking, and now we are moving towards the understanding of the product strategy part. As I mentioned in the agenda, that we will go one step at a time. So now this step is all about how product owners understand the market and they come up with the solution idea. For that, I have created a mural link. That is where what we're going to use throughout this section. So this is where we are actually going to talk about a case study, which is actually going to help us to understand that what problem we are actually going to deal with in order to provide a solution for that. Then this particular area, which is a lean canvas, is more around how you build a business case or a business model. And then we will talk about how you actually drive the product idea, and then we come up with the product vision and goals, how we identify the stakeholders, risk identification, a little bit introduction around the user research, and then we will understand that how we connect the goals to the user values by the product features, or you can say deliverables of the product. Once we are done with the deliverable parts, then we'll understand how we do a story mapping, and then we will talk about some prioritization techniques. After that, we will also explore, apart from coming up with the requirements with the goal and persona value, are there any other techniques using which we can actually elucidate the requirements for the product? So that is where we'll also talk about a little bit around customer journey map and also the brainstorming, way of coming up with the requirements. Now, to start with, as I mentioned that, okay, we're going to talk about a case study. So over here, I am actually going to take a help of the AI tools, because the AI tools really helps us to speed up our work, and also they give us a very precise information depending on how we have trained our AI model. So I'm having a licensed version of ChatGPT. I'm going to use that. How are you going to use this? Consider ChatGPT as your partner, the partner who is actually going to help you in your product management journey, or I would say it's a discovery part, so product discovery part. Now, the partner, the more and more interaction you're going to have with your partner, more and more understanding you're going to develop for each other. And in order to interact with each other, it gives us a prompt. So this area is called as prompt, and how effectively you actually interact with the system, you train your system, is called as your prompt engineering. It's more about that how efficiently you can write a prompt to get a desired result. More effective, more precise the prompt is, better understanding you will develop with your partner, and good results you're going to get. Now, to start with, how are you going to start with the interaction? So usually we start with the introduction part with the partner. That's where you are actually going to say who you are, in what field you work, who this partner or a bot to you, and what role this bot is actually going to play for you, and what kind of work you do, reference to educate your partner or your bot on that particular concept, and then asking for an assistant to solve your queries. So we are actually going to start with a simple prompt. I've written a few prompts. I'm going to show you one by one. So first prompt, let's say we are actually using it for an introduction. So let's say something like this. So I'm saying that, hi, myself Sumit, and I'm a product owner with Agilemania with over 15 years of experience in healthcare industry. This is my introduction. Now, what this bot is to me. So I just named my bot as Hugo. So let me use this word, Hugo. So I just named my bot as Buzo, and I'm saying that you're Buzo, you're a product owner, and you carry around 10 years of experience in the same industry. Now let's see how we are interacting. So hit it. So hey Sumit, great to connect with you again as Buzo, your trusted product owners, sidekick with the decade of experience in healthcare. I'm here to collaborate, challenge assumptions, validate ideas, and help drive product success alongside the Agilemania. So great to connect with you again. Reason being because I have done so much of interaction with this partner that this partner knows me very well. That's why I'm getting this particular prompt. You might get a different one. That's a different case. I don't know if at all we can experiment with Gemini or Copilot. Let me see. Okay, now for example, it says Sumit. No, I'm not actually. They know me. This bot also knows me because I'm using it. But let's see what prompt I'm getting over here. So I'm saying that okay, myself Sumit. Okay, bot knows me. But let's see what result we are getting. So you say, hello, Sumit. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Hugo, and it's great to connect with someone with such an extensive experience. Depending upon how your model is trained, the interaction happens. So we can actually take this side by side. We'll see how the results are coming. I'm also not sure that what result we are actually going to get in Gemini and in ChatGPT. But let's see how we can leverage this knowledge. So we have built a relation. Now I'm actually going to expect a help on this particular case study. Now see, there are two ways to use ChatGPT. One thing is I can ask the ChatGPT to help me understand that what kind of problem we are actually facing in a particular kind of environment. So it will actually start to throw the challenges. Second is I have actually done some research and I have figured it out the challenges in the market, and this data I need to feed to the bot so that the bot will also understand that what kind of problem I'm actually expecting a help on. So I created this case study. It is around the healthcare system. So it's a story of Kumar and family. Kumar and family is a mid-sized family. They live in North India, and the family consists of grandparents, parents, and kids. And it's a typical, a classic case of a middle-class family, I would say, who are digitally connected, but they're medically underserved. Now, over the course of a year, they have encountered nearly every bit of broken system of Indian healthcare system. And what are the challenges they have actually come across? Lack of centralized medical records, expensive private healthcare, difficulty in finding doctors and hospitals in case of emergency, unregulated quality care, long wait times and appointment chaos. Whenever you go to a hospital, you must have seen this. I've been to hospitals, so I know it. So poor public healthcare infrastructure, especially you must have seen in the government hospitals. And then corruption and unethical medical practices. And it's not only in India. These kind of practices are there across the globe. I'm just taking it as a reference. It's just a case study. So limited access to the specialists in rural areas, limited health insurance awareness and accessibility, and then lack of preventive healthcare awareness and emergency delays. Now, these are just the challenges. Now, what actually Kumar and family has gone through, I've just created a case study around that. Now, I'm going to feed this case study to ChatGPT, and let's see how the ChatGPT is going to help us, or my bot is going to help. So again, I have written a prompt for this. It's more about that I'm going to tell that what I do and what is my expectation. So there's a prompt which I've written. It's more about that I'm exploring a problem space on healthcare side in my country. After after a market study, or I'd say after a market study, actually, sorry for my mistakes, market study, I have come across a few challenges that I have observed in the healthcare industry. Our healthcare industry is niche, but it's broken. In my study, I have come across a lot of challenges and I'm inclined to solve those challenges. I would need your assistance in this journey. Let me know if you're ready to help me in the journey. Why I'm actually saying this. It's more about that, okay, making your bot ready that, okay, yeah, I need your assistance and I need you to be ready with the ask what I'm actually expecting. So once you're ready, then we will take this ahead. I will start my queries only when I get a response that I'm ready. Why I'm putting this particular stuff? Because sometimes what happens, the moment you give some information, the bot will start to think and will start throwing a lot of data in front of you, which might not be, which might not make sense in the context, or you have to go through a lot of data to analyze that. Okay, what exactly you're getting out of the bot. So I'm just telling that. Okay, once bot will say yes, I'm ready, then only the next query will start. So let's see what we are getting now. So see, it's saying that, okay, yes, Sumit, I'm ready. A very limited information for me, which I'm okay with. Now I need to explain the problem. So I have created this particular prompt, which is a little bit lengthy prompt, in which I'm actually putting all the challenges. Now I'm talking about that case study, India silent healthcare emergency. So whatever the case study was over here, I just converted into a text and I put it over here. Another way of giving the data is you can also put it into a Word document and then upload the Word document over here. And ChatGPT is smart enough to analyze the document to get a required information. So I just mentioned that, okay, let me help you with the challenges that I've come across. So whatever the market study I've done, I have fed that information to the bot. So all the 11 until emergency delays, cost life, impact. Now over here, if you look at this particular prompt, what I've written, please try and understand these challenges so that you can assist me with the next step. Once you understand these challenges, please let me know, stating I understood the challenges and I'm ready to assist. Again, it's more about a stop that, okay, yes, you have to give me only this much response. And I don't want my bot to work overtime to give me a lot of data which might not make sense to me in this particular context. So let's see what we're getting. So just give me a summary now. I understood the challenges and are ready to assist. So it just gave me a quick summary of understanding. Now, as I mentioned that, okay, we are going to use tools. You can consider this as a toolkit of the product for the product owners. So now we have to prepare a business case to understand the solution part. For that, I'm using a lean canvas. Are there any other options apart from lean canvas? Answer is yes. You can also use a business model canvas. This is another way of creating a business case. It's from Prioritization. Then you also have one more, which is the value proposition canvas. So this is also one more way of creating a business case. So I'll leave it on to you that, okay, which one you want to use. For any greenfield product, lean canvas is one which is quite popular. So I'm just going to use that. For that also, I've created a prompt. Now have a look at this. So I'm telling my bot that, okay, I need to create a business case using lean canvas. So I'm just checking that, do you have an idea about the lean canvas? Because you really don't know whether, oh, I'm using Gemini, I'm sorry. Okay. So I really don't know whether the bot knows that what exactly the lean canvas is. So I'm just giving an information that, okay, the information about the lean canvas is available at this website. So if you look at this website, so it's actually mentioned over here, tools, method, business model patterns, stories. So it is mentioned over here, the lean canvas, an introduction about that. So the bot is actually going to refer this particular website to understand what the lean canvas is. Now, I would need your help in creating a lean canvas. Now I'm asking that, okay, I want to create a lean canvas model. Okay, can you please help me create a complete canvas? Okay, I would be interested in a single integrated solution, and I expect this solution to cover all the problems of the customer segment. So I'm saying that, okay, please do not work on one problem. So sometimes what happens, it might end up creating a lean canvas only for this particular problem. I'm saying, no, I want a lean canvas and a solution around all the challenges that I'm having. So it's more like that. I have put up problems over here, and I have also mentioned a customer segment over here. So let's see what we're getting. So it says, yes, I'm familiar with lean canvas. Now let's see if it's creating a lean canvas for me. So see, all the problems, 11 problems are over here, which I've already mentioned it over here. Customer segment. So it's actually telling me all the customer segment. See, Kumar family is also mentioned. So customer segment, patients, hospitals, insurance companies. These are the segments who are actually facing this kind of challenges. The unique value proposition, one platform, every need, trusted care at your fingertips. So this is a unique value proposition that is trying to bring into the system. So let's use this. Next. Now it is actually helping us with the, see, so many solutions are coming up, but I might not be interested in one solution at a time. I would say that, okay, integrate everything and create one solution out of it. Okay. Let's say channels. Let me bring it over here. Channels to reach out to your customer segment to make them aware that, okay, yes, we are working on solving a problem. So we actually got the channels. Then talk about revenue, that how we can generate a revenue with this solution. So consider this is our revenue stream. And then we are talking about the cost structure, that what kind of cost we may incur in order to build this solution. So we got our cost structure, that what kind of different type of cost we might come across on our product. The key metrics that will help us understand the success of solution. These are key metrics. And then we are having an unfair advantage. See, unfair advantage is something which gives you a competitive edge in the market, which is something you only are offering and nobody else in the market is actually offering that. So this will give you a competitive edge. So over here. Now solution, as I mentioned that, okay, we have come across a multiple solutions. So now what if I actually want my partner to help me give an integrated solution? So now I can say, can you help me with one integrated solution for all the problems we are having? Let's see if it's giving us the integrated solution. See, we got an integrated solution, which is MediConnect, India's trusted digital healthcare companion. So see, it's actually giving me a features also, which I have never asked for. But okay, let's say this is our solution. AI-powered, mobile-first healthcare platform that brings together all of them. So this is considered that this is our solution, MediConnect. Now we actually got an idea that, okay, we are actually going to work on a solution which is called as MediConnect, and it's a digital healthcare companion. Now, as a product owner, it's very important for you to understand your problem space, who is actually having your problem, because once you have done this study, which is a market study, you need to do a customer study also to understand the pains, the individual pains, and what could be the value for your customer. So pain area, we know it. So what is the solution? We are actually going to work on, let's say, a web app or a mobile app, or it could be any other app. And unique value proposition that it brings, the unfair advantage which we are offering, nobody else is offering, key metrics that will help us to measure the success of this solution, then the channels to reach out to your customers, cost structure to build a solution, and how you're going to generate a revenue out of it. So our business case is ready. Now we got a product idea. Now once you get a product idea, you have to start to work on the next step, that, okay, how to bring life to this idea. Now that is where we actually come up with the product strategy and the first step towards the visioning of the product. You have to envision the product. We say the product owner is a visionary. Visionary means that, okay, what my product could be rather what the product is. Right now, we don't have a product, but what the product could be. For that, we create a vision. Now, are there any ways, techniques that we can use in order to come up with a vision for a product? Yes, there are a few techniques, but let's understand from our bot that, okay, how the bot can help. Okay, so another prompt. Again, I've created one prompt. Over here, I'm saying that, okay, let's create a product vision. What tools and techniques are you aware of for creating a product vision? Now, I'm asking the bot that, okay, can you tell me what techniques or tools bot is aware about? So let's see what suggestion bot is going to give us. And here we go. So now these are the different tools or techniques that we can use to create the vision for the product. So one is elevator pitch. It's a format that will help us understand the future state of your product. Now see, it's also running. It's ideal for internal buying, funding pitches, and strategic alignment. Product vision board. It's from Roman Pichler. It's quite popular. So you can say product vision board from Roman Pichler. Okay, just give me a sec. It's something like this. Here we talk about the vision, target group needs, what's your product, business goals. This is another way of doing it. We are having a storytelling product vision. If you'll go over here, you can find this one also. Storytelling product vision. It's more of a user experience technique. This talks about how you can actually, define the future state of your product in a storytelling way. It's quite popular because a lot of people actually remember the stories. So I've seen this being used in a lot of places. North Star metric framework, data-driven organization, outcome-focused product strategy, vision statement plus mission statement. Another one, recommended approach is storytelling, elevator pitch, and the product vision board. So these are a few of the techniques. So there is also one more technique which is called as golden circle. How about another technique, golden circle by Simon Sinek. I don't know if at all I'm actually spelling it wrong, but it is actually going to help us with that. Why it defines a purpose, who. So now, whatever technique you want to use or approach you want to use to create a vision, you can always ask, and it will actually help you to create a vision. Now, see, whatever the data we are actually going to get from the chat GPT doesn't mean that is the correct one. You have to make your intelligence on top of this. You have to use your intelligence on top of it. For example, I would say that, okay, let's use elevator pitch for our product. So it's actually going to create a vision for us. For middle-class Indian families and underserved rural communities who struggle with the fragmented medical records, unaffordable private healthcare, poor access to emergency services, and lack of trust in the system, MediConnect is a unified digital healthcare platform. So this is our product. Okay. This is the product name. This is the category, healthcare side, that empower users with a centralized health record. So these are the unique, or I'd say, unique value proposition: centralized health record, real-time hospital discovery, price transparency, preventive care guidance, insurance, telehealth, all in one place. Okay, it's something related to one platform, which is a unique value proposition. Then, unlike traditional hospital apps, fragmented insurance portals, or generic booking platform, our product offers end-to-end user-centered solution tailored to Indian broken healthcare landscape. Now, this particular part is nothing but a competitive advantage. This particular part. So this particular lean canvas contributes greatly, or I would say it actually complements the elevator pitch to create a product vision. Now, how about if I'll say we want to use another one also? Let's say, can we use golden circle for the product vision? Actually, intelligent enough to pick it up. I have put golden, so it's actually picked up. This is good. So see, it's actually creating, and then the what part. It says that why we are actually doing it, what our belief system is. We believe no one in India should suffer or die due to the lack of access awareness. It defines a purpose, that why we exist. How are we going to do it? We're going to centralize every medical record, show real-time hospital, offer appointments, enable affordable teleconsultations, educate patient, provide full cost transparency. In order to do this, what we are building? We are actually building MediConnect. Make sense? So it's a golden circle vision. MediConnect exists because we believe that access to trusted, timely, and affordable healthcare is a basic right. Now, this particular stuff can be served as your vision. So I can say that, okay, interesting. Let me put it here. Or if at all we are using elevator pitch, this one. Right now, I'm not refining it because the purpose is just to educate. But if you're using this particular techniques or tools in your context, so once you get the data, please go through that and see if something needs to be refined. Okay. Now we know that what vision we are actually working on for our solution. Now, if this is a vision, this is a long-term future state of our product, how are you going to achieve this vision? How are you going to get aligned with the vision? For that, we often create milestones. And those milestones are nothing but something very specific, measurable, and time-bound activity. Or you can say that, okay, those are defined as goals. So your milestones are nothing but the goals. Now, when you say that we are actually going to create a goals for a product, now these goals are around what? Now, if you again go for product vision board by Roman Pechler over here, they say that, okay, business is working on this particular idea or the product. How is the product going to benefit the company, to the business? What are the goals that what business will get out of this product? At the same time, we are also having a users. What user will get out of this product? So for that, we create a milestones, goals, targets. Now, can we use again our AI tool to create product goals for us? Let's say I have another prompt. Now, in alignment with product vision, we need to create a product goals. These goals needs to be measurable and time bound. Smart. We often create a smart goals at the start of a year in a career. You sit with the manager. Your manager will say, "Oh, you need to create a smart goal, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound." Same concept over here. So we need these goals to be measurable and time bound, and also should be aligned with the value to the business. Now, see, often what happens, business build a product because they expect something out of it. Most of the time, all the business, they work towards revenues. But it could be on the market share also, it could be on the branding also, or it could be other areas also that is actually business is striving for. Now, we are saying that, okay, you need to create a goals which are measurable and time bound, and it needs to be aligned with the value for a business, which I have defined that, okay, the value for our business is revenue, market share, and branding. Now, first of all, do you know the techniques or format that can be used to create the effective product goals? Now, if yes, it is actually going to give us the option the way it actually gives us the option for the vision. You know, no, where's the vision part? So, elevator pitch, product vision board, storytelling. Same way, we are asking for suggestions that, okay, do you know any techniques to create the product goal? So, let's see what we're actually going to get. 5 powerful techniques or formats. See, guys, with this particular flow, consider all these things: smart goals, outcome oriented goals, or the golden circle. Consider this as a technique or tools in the product owner toolbox. It's more about a practices that a product owner can opt for during the product management journey. Scrum being a framework, Scrum doesn't give you any practices, it just gives you a structure. But these are practices, these are practices that you can opt for. So now the techniques are smart goal, outcome oriented goal format, OKRs, North Star metric, Now see, heart framework. I never knew that. Okay, there's something called as heart framework also by Google. Happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, task success. So it's actually created. So SMART goals talks about clarity, KPIs, time bound, user values. Outcome is more about user value, measurable behavior. OKRs is more about strategic progress. Now you have to decide that okay, in your product, which technique you want to use. Now let's say we say that okay, let's use SMART goals. Let's use SMART goals format. And here we go. Guys, by the way, whatever we are actually using the chat GPT for, it is the discovery part of the product. Okay, now MediConnect. So it's talking about revenue part first. Okay, specific launch MediConnect paid plans for urban families and healthcare conscious individuals, measurable 2 crores, achievable through partnership, relevant support business, time bound 9 months. So generate 2 crores in subscription and telehealth revenue within 9 months by onboarding 100 plus hospitals and reaching 50,000 paying users. Now this could be your one goal around business value. Okay. So this could be one goal. Market share, achieve 20% user penetration in 10 tier 2 and tier 3 Indian cities within 6 months through hyper local campaigns and mobile first teleconsultation. Because I actually mentioned in this particular statement over here, should be aligned with the value to the business like revenue, market, and branding. So it is actually creating these goals around these three things. One is revenue, market share, and then the branding part. So let's say we have picked up this one. This could be your goals. Can we have a multiple product goals for a product? Answer is yes. So can we work on all these goals in parallel? No. So Scrum is having a rule that at any given point of time, your Scrum team works on one goal at a time until they have achieved it or it got deprioritized. So these are SMART goals. How about if we actually, quite a few they have created, which is fine. So let's say we picked up only 3. Now, how about if we say that, okay, hey, I want an outcome-oriented format. Can you help define a few goals using outcome-oriented format? So this is a format. We want to improve our product and services so that our customers are more successful in achieving these goals determined by these measurable parameters. Again, let's talk about time bound. We want to improve MediConnect's insurance assistant module so that insured families are more successful in understanding and using their health coverage. Now, if you see this particular stuff, outcome oriented, they are actually more inclined towards the user. They're not inclined towards the revenue or the market share or the branding. It's more towards what is the value for a customer. Okay, so we can actually pick a few out of them. So let me pick like this. Now consider that we have actually identified a few goals. Now what happened in this is, we cannot work on all the goals. So what we usually do? In this scenario, you will actually gonna sit with your stakeholders, you'll go through all these goals, and with the consent from the relevant stakeholders, you prioritize these goals, which means the goals, which goal to work on, which next goal to work on, which is the current goal. It is the responsibility of a product owner to define it or to prioritize it. Now this. Now see, we know our product, we know the future state of our product, long-term future state, we know the intermediate future state, we know what goals the business is actually striving for, what goals we have to work for our customers. We actually got a fair amount of idea. And this is what happens in the discovery or the research. Now, when we're talking about a product, we know that, okay, there will be a people who might get impacted with the product or who might influence or they might be having a interest in our organization or in its products. So typically it's a definition of our stakeholders. Know what kind of different stakeholders we are actually having. So usually we define or categorize our stakeholders into four categories. The users who are actually going to use your product, going to buy your product. Influencers who can actually influence the direction of your product. These are the people who are actually influential and they're having an interest or they can impact your product. Providers, are there anyone who you are dependent on to get some data from? For example, one of the provider could be your infrastructure. As a company, we don't manufacture the servers. As a company, we don't, come up with the clouds. Maybe we are dependent on Google Cloud or AWS. In those kind of scenarios, those are also your stakeholders under provider categories. Now, when you are working on a product, it's very important that we should have a boundary around this, or you can say we should have a guardrails within which the actions happen. So it's more about a governance part. Now, there could be two kind of governance, internal as well as external governance. Now, the internal governance is more around within the organization, who are the people who are interested in your product, that how the product is performing. Maybe this governance is on to the compliance side. Maybe it is on to the financial side, scope side, time side. So these are nothing but the internal governance who are actually having some guardrails set that you cannot go beyond that. Within this, you have to work. And then how you are working in those boundaries, they might ask you for a report. External governance is more around that are there any central governance body who you have to go and take permission from. For example, in India, if at all you have to work on any of the financial products, there is the external governance which is called as Reserve Bank of India, RBI. So that's what is all about the stakeholders. Now in this, again, can we identify our stakeholders? Let's take a help of our AI again. So I'll say, please help find all relevant stakeholders under the category of user, influencer, providers, and governance. Internal to the organization, external, like central government authority. User segment, urban middle class families, rural patients, elderly patients, working professionals, caregivers, students, chronic disease patients, emergency seekers. Who could be the influencers? Doctors, specialists, ASHA workers, rural health workers, corporate NGOs, insurance agents, technology evangelists, community leaders. They are the one who can influence the direction of your product. Now, for example, they have not mentioned investors over here. As I mentioned, that sometimes you have to use your own intelligence also. Don't just blindly take what comes out from the bot, because the bot is also into a learning mode. That's what's called as generative AI. Providers, private healthcare, government hospitals, diagnostic labs, ambulance networks. So these are all the providers. Internal, external. Because I'm actually getting a description also with that. So can I get only the the stakeholders without description? Let's see. Can you help me with only with stakeholders without description? I should have used a question mark over there. I'm not using it. Oh, see, I got it. So now what you have to do is pick one by one. Pick this. Bring it over here. So this is my user base. Okay. Similarly, influencers. They are the influencers. Let me include few more. Investors, compliance heads, or you can say the people who are actually taking care of the compliance. Then comes the providers, because you might be dependent on the private hospitals or clinics for the data. You might be dependent on government hospital for the data. Now, all these are the ones on who you are dependent on to provide you data. Ambulance networks, they are required. They're providing you information about where you can actually get the ambulance in the emergency services or in the emergency case. So bring them over here. Then we are having a governance, internal or external. So like this, and then this one. Now in the external, see Ministry of Healthcare, National Health Authority, Insurance Regulatory, State Health Department. Now, if at all, I'll talk about US case study. It's India, so if I'll talk about the US case, so maybe the compliances like HIPAA compliances, they are also called as governance, but they will go for an external governance. So here we go. So now we know our problems. So I can say this is my problem space to understand the problem. Then using a lean canvas, we built a business case that where we understood that, okay, what solution we are actually going to work on that will help solve these kind of problems for this customer segment. Unique value proposition, cost structure, revenues, channel to reach out to your customers, key metrics, and the unfair advantage. Then we have identified the long-term future state of our product, which is a vision. We have defined the goals. We have identified our stakeholders. All this is what a responsibility of a product owner is in product management in the context of Scrum. Next comes risk. Now, as a product owner, it's very important for you to understand the risk that we carry along with the product. Now, what kind of risk this could be? See, this risk could be around compliances, could be around infrastructure, could be around people, could be around authorities. It could be around a lot of areas. So let's see that, okay, if ChatGPT can help us identify this risk, so they please help find all the risks that we might come across with this product. It touches health, technology, privacy, partnership, regulations, short-term and long-term horizons. So you see, short-term risks, data privacy, integration, user adoption, legal, long-term risk, platform abuse, scaling without description. Okay. So it's giving example also. Can you see? Technical risk, integration issues, user risk, low adoption. So short-term risks, and then you're having a long-term. So I'll say, let me put a short-term risk over here. Say, I'm just changing the color of this. So here we go. And consider these are my long-term risks. And this. Now, if you further want to, break it to more granular level, you can do it. Like technical risk, user risks, categories, market risk. You can actually use this also. So let me see something like this. Let's say these are my technical risks. These are my user risks. So this is how you actually do it. Why it is important for you to identify the risk is because then you can use a risk roaming. There's one more technique called as risk roaming. It's there in a scaling agile framework. With that, you can actually have a discussion with your stakeholders or the concerned parties to do a risk roaming. Roaming means resolved, accepted, mitigated, or owned. So you can actually do a risk roaming around that. Okay, something this operational risks, and then you are actually having one more kind of risk, which is the reputational risk, branding. Okay, that makes sense. So Here we go. So now we have identified the risks. Fine. Now, one portion of my discovery is completed, which is more around the product solution, or I'd say solution, vision, goals, stakeholder identification, and risk identification. Now, the next part comes to do a research on who? On the user. Because I know that, okay, I'm building this product for my users or the people who are actually going to consume this product. Now, what problem are we trying to solve for them? What is the value for my personas or my users? For that, we do a user research. Now, in order to do a user research, there are a lot of techniques which are available in the market. You are having a techniques like ethnographic research on the users, like empathy mapping, marketing personas, proto personas. What techniques works in your context? It's up to you. What technique you are familiar with, what technique you think is the more powerful technique in your context, use it. So the one which I'm actually going to present it over here, it's more around your proto personas. Proto personas are the persona which we imagine that, okay, this persona exists. And what this persona geographical information is, demographic information is, what this person wants, what this person needs, challenges, what could be the value for my persona. Okay, for that we actually do a identification that who could be my personas. So let's do a research on that, because Zome is one. So there can there be some X, Y, male, female, caregiver. For that, let's identify our persona. Now, what I am saying, can you please help me identify all the persona for the product who can impact the product and its goals? I'm planning to use the impact mapping later. So impact mapping is one of the techniques that we use in order to elicit the requirements, and those elicitations are around the users. So I just want to find the user base now. I'll do a research on the particular users later. So let's see if at all it gives us some stuff. So it says primary users. Oh, Ravi, he's an urban middle class father. Sarla, elderly chronic patient. I'm really surprised with the name that is picking up. Sunita, Anil, Gopal, Ramesh. Now, all these are just imaginary. I really don't know if somebody with the name Ravi Kumar exists also, but it's just about the persona or the user. So, who is Ravi Kumar? Is the primary health manager of the family. Use the app to schedule appointments, store records, and manage emergencies. See, we actually got it. Now, can I do a research around that? Yes. Can I create a Ravi as a proto persona to understand what is the challenge? Yes, I can do a research on that. What? Using proto personas. So let's see. Can you please help create a proto persona for users? I need to understand what value these persona might be looking for, which if they get, then will impact the product goal. I would be interested in knowing the value for each persona. If the persona will get that value, I'm sure they will come and buy the product, or they'll come enroll for the product. So let's see. She's giving me a demographic information, behavior, actions, pain points, goals. So first one is Ravi. So let's say I picked up this and I'm coming over here. I'll say my first persona is Ravi. Usually we put a picture also, but it's okay, fine. Demographic information. Okay, so this is the demographic information. Then behavior, actions, and pain points. So let me pick all this together. So can I convert this into this? Yes. So consider this as the behavior action point. What is the value for my persona? One-stop platform for medical history, appointment insurance, transparency on the pricing, emergency access on one click. So if my persona, who's Ravi, if that Ravi will get benefit with these three values, I'm sure Ravi will come and buy our product. So this is the value for Ravi. Similarly, others, Sarla, elderly lady. Okay, Salpik. Then demography information. As a product owner, is it required for you to create the proto personas or the empathy mapping? See, if you're having that knowledge, there's nothing wrong that you go understand your customer and then you create personas. But in case you're actually having a research team, UX team, which is actually doing this work for you, now what happens? Usually they give you a limited information. Limited information like only this much information. What I'm having for Sarla right. Now you should be in a position to understand these challenges and derive the value part. Then that what could be the value for my persona. Here the pain points are written. Keep the paper prescription, forgets past treatment, doesn't understand the test result, feel anxious in emergencies. Now, if we talk about the value part, you will see it is actually going to reflect that. Somewhere all this part is going to be related to your pain points. See, personal health record vault with medication history. This pain will be released. Remote monitoring. This will be released. Emergency SOS system. Emergencies will get answered. Correct? Similarly, let's pick up a few more. I'll not pick up the user. Let's see if at all we are having um, others. So it only gave for me the one which are users. Can we say that, okay, can you please create a proto persona for users? I have actually used it for users. Can we use it for, let's say, influencers or providers? Let's say for influencers. Persona for influencers. Okay, now persona, Mr. Mehta. Mr. Mehta is actually our influencer. You can see this, Mr. Mehta, private hospital doctor, nurse, ASHA worker, corporate HR leader, insurance advisors. We are actually going to them now. So let's say we picked up this particular persona. So here, then we are having demographic information. Over here, then let's say we are actually having their behavior, pain points, goals. Okay, over here, let's say, okay, this is fine. Okay, fine. Value. What is the value for Dr. Mehta? The value is access to patient medical history via trusted interface, standardized second opinion, reduced admin load. And it comes over here. And this one. So let's say we have actually picked up Ravi, Sarla, and Dr. Mehta. Can I create a proto persona for providers? Yes. Can we create a proto persona for the governance? Answer is yes. So all those are your stakeholders. Okay, because they can impact the goal. Influencers and users can impact your product. So that's why I picked up first two. Okay. So now what happened? We actually got it. That okay, this is our personas. Now we know our goals, we know our persona, we know the value for them. Now let's say we are actually we have done a discussion with the stakeholders, and after having an intensive discussion with the stakeholders, we have prioritized our goal, and the goal, the first priority goal, became the revenue generation. Let's say it's not like that. Okay, we cannot go with the market penetration or with the branding. I just picked up one goal because it's only for the reference purpose, understanding purpose. Now this goal could be anything in your case. So in our case, we picked up generate revenue. Okay, fine. So let's understand over here. So this is a goal that we are actually trying to achieve. Now, if this is a goal for our product, then what we should build in our product that can deliver this goal. That is something will actually going to help us to define the requirements. And when you come up with the deliverables that can deliver a value to a persona to impact this goal, this technique is called as impact mapping. This is another technique. You can say it's another technique or tool in your product owner's toolbox. So, personas, which persona we are targeting? Who can impact this goal? We say that, okay, we are having three personas, Ravi, Sarla, Dr. Mehta. Fine. Bring it over here. So we actually got our personas who can impact this goal. Now the question comes, why they will impact, why they will come and buy something from you, what is there for me in that. Now, if you also go and buy a product from the market, you always look for that, okay, why you need that product. What problem are you trying to solve? What value you are actually going to get from the product? That's why most of the time in the reviews, people usually say, this product is not value for money, which means the money which I've invested, I'm not getting the intended value. So remember one thing, customer always pay for the value. They never pay for the features of the product. Otherwise, you should be knowing all the features of your phone. If you have paid for the features. A lot of people say that, okay, yeah, Sumit, I actually paid for a camera. But what is the benefit of having a camera in your phone? Because the camera, you can actually carry a big cameras also, like DSLR and all. But you actually want a camera in the phone. Why? Because it's convenient to carry. So which means you want to collect the memories with your convenience. So you paid for the convenience. That's the value that you have paid it for. Now, what if I'll make that camera also very bulky? Or what if the camera is not really very good camera? You say that, oh, I'm not getting the value that I was expecting out of the camera. I'm not able to create reels. I'm not able to capture the memories. So it is a value that drives the persona behavior to impact the goal. Now the question comes, I know my product goal. I know my personas who can impact these goals, and I know how they will impact the goal. They look for this value. But what we should build in a product that can deliver these values to this persona so that this goal can be achieved. That's where the deliverables comes to the picture. Okay. Let's see how we can actually come up with this. What should we build in a product that will deliver a value of peace of mind and control for Ravi? I'm talking about this one, Ravi. Peace of mind is not there. So let's say this is a value. Emergency access in one click. So what should we build in a product that will deliver a value of emergency access in one click for Ravi? I'm trying to create an impact map. Let's see if it actually going to help us deliver the features. See the desired values, emergency access. Impact, ensure Ravi can get help instantly to reduce critical response time in medical emergencies. What should be done? SOS, real-time hospital and bed availability locator, ambulance booking integration. Now, all these things are nothing but the deliverables that we can build in our product to deliver a value of emergency to Ravi. So, pick it up one by one now. Yeah, I know it's a little bit, a time-consuming stuff when you are actually using, AI models. A lot of copy paste happens, especially in my case. So I'll say this one. Or panic notification system, and over here. Okay. So now let me bring them together. Let's say I need to build a relation over here. Let me do it like this. Like this. So we know that all these deliverables are associated with this particular value. Fine. So like this. Mm. And here we go. Similarly, for this value, let's say now we want for another value. So you just need to change the value part in the prompt. Copy, bring it over here. You have mentioned the emergency services, replace the emergency services with this value. Enter. Now all the features that can deliver this particular value to Ravi, it will start to create those features. See, digital health record vault, family health dashboard, smart appointment booking system. Okay, appointments and prescription history, insurance, AI based documents and storage. And here we go. Just be with me for some more time. Something like this. And uh, now if you look at this, down they have actually give us a tabular structure. Now Ravi can access and manage family medical records in one place, can keep track of appointments and reports easily, can find and book doctors. All these are deliverables which can actually help with this to Ravi. Because Ravi is getting this value, so Ravi will come and buy the product. So consider this. Let's change the color again. So let me use this color now. Mm, mm. Okay, see, we got more. Now, all these features that we are actually getting or deliverables we are actually driving with impact map. If you look at this, these are quite abstract. Digital health record wallet. It's more like a very big feature, or I'd say we can call that as an epic. So, is it possible if you can break this or slice this? Maybe yes. So let's say um, something with slicing. I'll say I'm considering these deliverables as epics. Can you please slice them into user story without acceptance criteria? Why? Because this particular technique is actually going to help me create a user story mapping, which later will help us to prioritize the requirements also. So one step at a time. So let's say if you're actually getting it, see. So this is an epic, and under that we are having a user stories. One by one. So let's say we actually picked up these epics and I have put it over here. Something this. And one by one. So all these are stories. Let's define like this. So let's say this one. Story mapping. Isn't it? Now, can this bot or AI can help me create a user story mapping format itself in a table structure. Let's say I need your assistance to create a user story mapping table for deliverables we defined in the previous step. So let's say if at all it can create a table structure for me, then I can put the whole table structure over there. Can you build this table with user activities and user stories only? I don't want, let's say, I don't want user task level information in the table. So it's actually going to create one for me. Oh, it's creating a Python. Say, don't generate Python code for me. I just need a simple table structure. Got it? So what I can do, let me copy it. One way is I can directly come over here and put it. Okay, this is for Ravi. Similarly for Sarla, similarly for Doctor, you can actually do it in this way. Or I don't know if at all I'll copy what's going to happen. Let me see. This is also a nice way. So that's all up to you that how you want to do it. For example, I'll pick these three and I'll put it in this way. And this is nothing but your story mapping. Now you can actually do it for all the personas, one after other. Either you can do this one, or this. I'll leave it on to you that how you want to format it. Now consider that you have identified the deliverables and you have also sliced those deliverables into a little bit smaller requirements like user stories. Now it's a time for us to prioritize. Now for the prioritization, again, there are a lot of techniques which are available, like Moscow is there, Tano model is there, effort value estimation or effort value prioritization is there, a value versus risk prioritization is there. Whatever the format you want, you can actually use it. Or you can actually ask ChatGPT itself that, okay, what techniques are bot knows? What technique are you aware of for the requirements prioritization? Let me choose one from your knowledge. Choose one from them. Let me choose one from. Okay, let's see. Tell well-known prioritization techniques. Value, effort, risk, urgency, strategic alignment. Moscow, Kano, value versus effort, RICE scoring, WSJF, opportunity scoring, impact map. Oh, impact map also they say. Buy a feature, story mapping with MVP lens, 100 points method, isn't it? So now you can use any one of the techniques. So I can say that, okay, let me use the Moscow. please help prioritize all the identified requirement for all the persona. Or I can say Ravi, or I can say Sarla, or I can say Doctor. Again, going to Python. We don't use Python. Persona, user story, priority. See, must have, should have, must have. Must have means it has to be there. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Should, it's good. It's actually, I would say, um, something which can actually make you stand apart from the crowd. Could means it's good to have. Won't means we are not going to work on that at the moment. So see, we're actually getting all the stuff. Now see, can I create a MVP scope? So consider that, okay, we have identified must have, should have, could have, won't have. One way is, I'll pick this up, bring it over here, and let's say over here. Prioritization, must have, which means we are actually going to do the must have first. Another way is you can actually pick one at a time as a quadrant. Let me see. Can you please help create a quadrant structure for Moscow? I don't know whether it's going to create a quadrant structure or not, but let's see. Yeah, it's created. So another way is that, let me bring it over here. So I'll say from here. It's something like this. And then similarly, you could have. It's all up to you that, okay, how you want to create a transparency. Because all this visualization is nothing but a transparency. It actually make all the information related to your product strategy available to the stakeholders. Now, can we create an MVP out of it? Yeah. So they turn this into a visual diagram. That also it can do. Please turn this into a visual quadrant diagram. Now see, it's actually creating a picture. Now see, it's saying that, okay, it can convert it into mural diagrams also. Just wait for this. In the meantime, the picture is getting created. Let me do something over here. It's more like that. So using AI models are really good. It actually helps you to speed up your work. You can save a lot of time. So I copy this image, I bring it over here. Now see, is it having a full picture? Okay. Now let me see if at all I can download this picture. So similar, correct? So this is another way. How you want the visualization to be, it's up to you. Now, if you look at this, simply problem space, business case, we got a solution, product idea, we create a vision, defined goals, identified the stakeholders, identified the risk. We did a user research using proto persona. You can actually use another techniques like ethnographic research, or you can also use empathy mapping. At the end, all these techniques will lead you to two things. One is their pain points, and another one is what is the value for them. Using an impact map, we can actually connect personas value back to our product goals with the help of deliverables. Later, you can actually define a roadmap also around this. Then, using a story map, you have actually understood that all these big requirements can be achieved with the smaller broken down requirements. With this story map, it can help us to generate a prioritization also. It can help us with the prioritization. Can it help us with the MVP? Maybe. Let's see. Because it asks for a MVP, correct? Correct? It says create MVP release scope based on must have. I say please help create a MVP for the product. Minimum viable product. It's actually telling the goal for the MVP also. Must have feature in MVP. Should have features in MVP plus one. So then firstly create this. After that, you can create this. I can say, can you help create the MVP scope from must, should, and could have features? I'm just saying that okay, not all the must have. There could be some items from the should and could also. Can we use that also? MVP scope breakdown. So no, it's going with the must have features, should have, could have only. We'll find you actually got a scope of your MVP. So your MVP one, this is your MVP, increment of MVP. So this is actually going to help you to define your MVP also. Now, are there more techniques that we can use to create a requirements? Yes, there's something called as brainstorming canvas. It's more about, what the product goal that you're working on, which is this one. Let's say over here. What problem are you trying to solve? So for example, over here, brainstorming canvas for who? Or we are actually doing it for Ravi, let's say. What goal are we trying to achieve? Or we are trying to achieve a goal of revenue. What problem for Ravi we are trying to solve? How might we solve this Ravi's problem? The idea is more about, it usually happens when you're actually having a subject matter expertise, you actually having a sales team, UX teams who can actually give you ideas. So you call every one of them. Then you say that, okay, see, Ravi is the person who we are actually going to deliver the value to. The product goal is revenue. The problem statement for Ravi is this. So how might we solve this problem statement? So you're going to actually create a how might we solve this problem? How might we solve another problem? Then the crowd or the people sitting in that group will actually going to give you some ideas. You'll put all these ideas over here and then we'll define the outcomes that we will drive from these ideas. So this is how you actually create a brainstorming. So let's see if at all we can use that also. So I would say using the brainstorming technique with brainstorming canvas help create one for person. Or let's say one for Ravi. Help create the product or sorry, brainstorming canvas for Ravi. Can you also help identify the outcomes? So let's see what we get. Who we are solving it? Ravi. What are the pain points? Why do these pain points matter? Okay, I can actually say that, okay, I want in this format. Can you use the brainstorming canvas? How might we? I thought that okay, it must be knowing it, but in that case, we can always add the information that okay, what we are actually expecting. Ravi, goal, who we are solving it for. So Ravi, what ideas could solve? Now see, these are the ideas, outcomes. So I would pick this area from here, bring it over here. Something this. Ravi, goal is this. Problems that we are trying to solve for Ravi, pain points. These are the pain points. Okay, so let me bring it over here. So these are more of a pain points. How might we? So these are how might we. I just need to. So how might we around this problems only? How might we help Ravi organize and access all the family medical records? Because the problem is fragmented records. How we can solve this problem? By building a digital health wallet. It is exactly like this. Oh, what we have actually done in impact mapping. The only thing is the format is a little bit different. So a lot of people actually use this format also. And then they talk about outcomes. So what outcomes we are expecting? So these are the outcomes. It's actually picking all, no problem. Bring it over here. Let me put it over here. Remove it. See. Now, all these ideas, what we are actually getting over here, it is nothing but our abstract requirements like this. You can see this digital health wallet, smart appointment, family. You will start to see everything like this over here also. Smart appointments, just a different format. So brainstorming canvas. I can create a brainstorming for Ravi, for Sarla, for doctor, for everyone. Similarly, another one more is there, which is called as customer journey maps. This is another technique for creating a requirements. Let's see. What is your understanding on customer journey maps? Let's see if our bot knows what is the customer journey. Now it's what it's doing, it's actually searching. So it's telling that, okay, yes, I know what's customer journey map. What customer is trying to achieve, feeling, thinking, doing. Why we use the customer journey maps? Key components, persona, goals, stages, phase, touch points, user actions, emotions, correct? Pain points. Example. See? So can I select this one? Okay, let me select this one first. So this is how it goes. Okay. So stages, actions, opportunity, this one. Let's bring down a little bit. So stages. So you're having a discover, decide, pick one at a time. So this is discover, decide, onboard, oh, sorry, this, and then use nothing but steps. So these are the different stages for Ravi. So Ravi, when we actually say Ravi is actually going to interact with the system, then how we're going to interact. Something like this. Now, under discover, what actions Ravi will take? Oh, under discover, search for hospitals. Okay. Something like this. Emotion, pain points, opportunities. You'll actually go one by one. So all these opportunities, show live bed, verify the profile with ratings and filters, auto tagging, smart reminder, all these are nothing but requirements. These are considered as your requirements. So you can actually use customer journey maps also. Make sense? So this is a small attempt for me to help you understand that how product owner builds the product strategy during the discovery phase of the product. Now, all these activities product owner can do by himself or herself, or can leverage AI for this. So that's why we say that, okay, nowadays it's quite popular that, okay, bionic product owner. Bionic means that a human with the machine. So we are having a bionic legs, which means that, okay, a machine enabled leg that can actually help the user. Same way, bionic product owner is nothing but a person who is actually using machine like AI to make his or her life a little bit more simple, effective, to save time, so that they can actually invest their time in more better, in some other better thing which is related to product. So this was my small attempt to make you understand that how the product strategy works, or how product owner works towards the product strategy. And all these activities are nothing but the activities which actually gets involved into the discovery stage of the product. And next topic is more around that if you have identified your requirements, if you have actually identified your MVP or your releases, now how are you going to build, how are you going to develop that product? What methodology, what approach, what process you're going to use in order to build the product or the development of the product? If you talk about the quadrant, we just discussed the top two quadrants, which is research and the strategy part. Now the execution part, that is where the development comes. And when we talk about the development, we say that, okay, we use Scrum as a framework for the product development that needs adaptive solutions. Now, what all that means, we are actually going to discuss in the next video series. I hope this helps you to understand a little bit more around the product owner responsibilities into the product management.